Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Performapal Yugioh deck profile for Post's Magical Hero. Wanted to do an update. This is the third deck that I'll be doing an update for the new support we received in the Magical Hero Legendary Duelist set. It's a really fun deck. I've done updates to Performapal decks all throughout the years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever since the deck was first released. It's a really fun deck. The whole point of the deck was to Pendulum summon a bunch of different Performapal monsters and then perform different types of summonings from the extra deck based on the type of Performapal monsters you have out on the field. It was Yugioh's main deck he used in Arc 5, where he would summon a bunch of them along with some Odd Eyes support, which I have also included in this version of the deck profile, which I'm definitely happy with the support we got from the set, and also hoping to do an Odd Eyes deck profile update soon as well. With the support we kind of got that more helps out the Odd Eyes part of Yugioh's deck more than the Performapal version, but still really do like the Performapal support we received as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, for the Performapal monsters, I have two Performapal Celestial Magician in the deck. I definitely want to run 3 of this card. I'll show what card I would take out for a third copy of this card in the deck. It's a Scale 8 Performapal monster. When exactly 1 face-up Fusion, Synchro, or Exceed monster you control that was special summoned from the extra deck is destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, you can special summon that destroyed monster, then destroy this card. You can only use this effect of Performapal Celestial Magician once per turn. So it's a resource saver, being able to add back your monster to the field that was destroyed if you need it for more extra deck plays. Very, very useful there. Just destroying the scale of this card means you can obviously add it back later or re-pendulum summon it back onto the field. And its monster effect is during your main phase, if this card was normal or special summon this turn, you can apply the following effects by the rest of this turn. Based on the other number of monsters you currently control. If it's a fusion monster, this card can attack directly. If it's a synchro, your opponent cannot activate monster effects. If it's an exceeds, this card attack becomes double its original attack. And if it's a pendulum, during the end phase, add 1 pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. You can use this effect of Performapal Celestial Magician once per turn. So just having this option, giving this card these different effects based on the following other monsters you currently control, means you have a good amount of resources, since we can perform all these different types of summonings and have all these different types of monsters out on the field. With Master Rule, we're kind of limited to the amount of pendulum monsters we can summon out, but if we can get more Exceed, Synchro, and Fusion out on the field without having to rely on arrows, it's definitely a big plus for the deck as a whole. And I also run 3 Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer. This card's always been a great card in the deck just for search and boost power. In the Pendulum scale, if a Performapal monster is pendulum summoned to your side of the field, all Performapal monsters you currently control gain 1000 attack until the end of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. And if it's special summoned, you can target up to 2 cards you control, destroy them, and if you do, add Performapal monsters with different card names from your deck to your hand, except Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer, equal to the number of monsters destroyed. You can only this effect of Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer once per turn. It's not just monsters, this is the old version of the deck, but also can be pendulum scale cards, you name it, to get that search. So very, very useful search, being able to grab proper scales if you want bigger scales to set up for your pendulum summon plays, or even if you just need a specific type of monster for the type of play you want to go for. And then also the boost when it's in the scale, it's a scale 2, so if you match it with any of your higher scale Performapals, you'll just have easy summon and boost power for all the Performapals on the field. And I also run 3 Performapal Second Donkey, one of the only non-pendulum Performapals I run in the deck. When it's normal or special summon, you can send 1 Performapal monster from your deck to the graveyard, except Second Donkey. If you have 2 cards in your pendulum zone, you can add to your hand instead, which is what I'll do most of the time. Just grab the search I need for that specific Performapal. Relying on Second Donkey for that play is very, very useful for sure. That's why I like to run 3 of it in the deck still, just for plenty of searches I can do. If you're not a fan of the Second Donkey play, this could be a potential spot if you wanted to take out the 3 of them and put in 2 Lizard Draw and 1 Get Turtle for a little more draw power. It doesn't give you his best of scales in the deck, but still more of a pendulum variant if you didn't want to run any non-pendulum cards in the deck. And I also run 3 Performapal Odd Eyes Minotaurus. With this one, if your Performapal or Odd Eyes monster attacks a defense monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. Being a scale 6, you can get some of your lower level Performapals on the field quite easily, but the Odd Eyes and all that, a little more difficult. You could get a scale 8, but then you're limited to what you can summon out onto the field. And during damage calc, if your pendulum monster attacks an opponent's monster, you can make that opponent's monster lose 100 attack for each Performapal and Odd Eyes card you currently control during damage calculation only. It's also an Odd Eyes card, so it's searchable with cards like Sky Iris, but just being a level 4 helps for some of our Xyz summons into cards like Dark Rebellion with the deck as well. That's why I like to run it at 3, and also just giving that piercing effect on the Pendulum scale means if your opponent plays defensively, you can still swing with your Performapal Odd Eyes monsters to hit for some pretty big damage. And I also run 2 Odd Eyes Unicorn, being a life gain effect for the monster effect of this card when it's normal or special summon by targeting a Performapal in your graveyard and getting life points. I use it more for the scale, being a high scale and searchable off of Sky Iris, and just being one of the best ones to set up since you don't really want this monster on the field. It just makes for a better scale, and then being searchable more than one way in the deck as well is a big help also. And I also run 2 Performapal Yugioh Golem. With this one, once per turn, if a monster is fusion summoned to your field except during the damage step, you can add 1 Performapal Odd Eyes or Magician Pendulum monster from your graveyard or face on the field in your extra deck to your hand. More recycle power with Yugioh Golem. It's also a lower scale, so you can help with the high scales in the deck. And once per turn during your main phase of this card was Pendulum Summon this turn, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using this card you control, and a dragon type monster you control as a fusion material. So using this and Odd Eyes to go for some of your fusion plays as well in the deck is a big help, also being also a dark monster with Odd Eyes, meaning you can go for Starving Venom Fusion Dragon if you wish by using this and Odd Eyes on the field also. And for some of the one-ofs in the deck, I run 1 Performapal Trump Witch. I do run Polymerization in the deck, so just having this search option definitely does come in handy. And having the other fusion option with the card. Also, 1 Light Phoenix, being a level 5, more of a powerhouse monster, and also another search target with cards like Sky Iris. Odd Eyes Dissolver is a Pendulum Scale fusion type of card, being able to fusion summon a Dragon Fusion from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials. And also, if a Pendulum monster battles an opponent's monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, your monster cannot be destroyed by battle, so more of a protection card using this one when you special summon it on the field to use as well. And also, I run 1 Odd Eyes Synchron. This is for the Synchro plays you can do with the deck, being able to Synchro summon out some of your monsters with the deck is definitely very, very useful as well. And also, I run the 1 Performapal Gum Gum Mutton. Having this card as an option for the deck means that you have the plays to go for protecting your Performapal monsters on the field as well. Is very, very powerful, I'd say, as well for your plays to go into. And the 1 Daggerman for the warrior play, being able to get out your Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon for your summons with this card as well. And that's it for the one-ofs. For the last of the monsters in the deck, I run 3 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, just another boss monster that a lot of the other different Performapal monsters rely on for some plays as well. It comes in handy, just being able to summon this card out, having double damage, especially with cards like Minotaurus. If you get the scales being 6 and then 8, being able to summon out Odd Eyes and have it also be able to do piercing damage, or just having it boost up or be part of the fusions of some of your other cards in the deck is a big help as well for your cards. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Performapal Popper Up. This is the new spell we got in the booster pack. Send up to 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard, draw that many cards. Then you can special summon up to that many monsters from your hand with different names that are Performapal monsters, Pendulum monsters that are magicians, and or Odd Eyes monsters, each with a level between the pendulum scales of the 2 cards in your pendulum zone. If you do not special summon by this effect, you lose 1,000 life points for each card in your hand. You can only activate 1 Performapal Popper Up per turn. This draw consistency power definitely boosts up the deck. You don't rely on the graveyard too much, but there are ways for you to add cards back to your graveyard as well with cards like Yugioh Golem, but also just having that draw power to sift through cards you really don't need in your hand or aren't able to use and then get some better cards to use is a big help for sure with this card in the deck. And even if you don't summon out the cards, taking that small life point loss, it's 1,000 for each card in your hand. It can either be the make or break play since you don't really use life points for anything else in the deck, and just be that draw power you need for your plays. And I also run, I'm just down to 1 Performance Hurricane now. I did have this card boosted up, but I removed some of the numbers for the Performapal Popper Up spot in the deck. But this card, just being able to bounce your opponent's cards, is still a big boost in the deck for sure, with all the different plays you can go for. So I decided still just to run the 1 of it in the deck. And I also run the 2 Duelist Alliance. With this is just more of your searcher in the deck for all the different Odd Eyes options you have available for you in the deck to use, being able to search out a Pendulum Zone card or add one Pendulum monster in your Pendulum spell and trap card zone to your hand. So you have the option to search out for Pendulum Sorcerer, or even just going for the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, since you have plenty of options with this card to search out those cards also for your searches. But probably one of the best spells that I run in the deck that I like to use is the Sky Iris play. This one searches out so many of your different cards, including the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, but any of the Performapals that have Odd Eyes in its name as well. So this card helps to set up your Pendulum Scales, and also cards in your Pendulum Scale cannot be targeted by an opponent's card effects, which means your opponent can't destroy them. But with this are some of their other cards. So I like to run two of this just because it doesn't have any search options, just wanting this card for setup. That's why I also run the one Terraforming, just so you have the option to always search out this card for your plays as well. And then for a few other one-ofs, I run one Soul Pendulum and one Pendulum Paradox. With the adjustment of your Soul Pendulum card, you're able to adjust your scales to better Pendulum summon out cards onto the field. And Pendulum Paradox, you add two face-up Pendulum monsters with the same Pendulum scale but different card names from your extra deck to your hand. You can only activate once per turn, but since we can't summon out as many Pendulum monsters from our extra deck to the field, you have the extra monster zone. Having these back in your hand to Pendulum summon back out is a completely different story. And this card's also searchable with Duelist Alliance, so you're able to add them back to your hand after searching this card out with that card. And I also have two Fusion Substitutes. I like to rely on Fusion Substitute just more for the fact that the cards in the field will then go to the extra deck to use, aside from the hand, and then giving you more draw power with this card while it's in your graveyard. If you want to use Polymerization, you can use that. It's fine. It's the same search since this card's always treated as Polymerization, so remember that when picking out the cards. And then for the traps, I am running 3 Pendulum Dimension. This card just helps you search out all the different resources for your deck, depending on the type of special summon you do. If you special summon any of these monsters using Pendulum monsters as material while this card is already face up on your field in the spell and trap card zone, you can activate the appropriate effects, but you cannot apply that same effect of Pendulum Dimension for the rest of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. Fusion, special summon one monster from your deck with the same original level as that monster in defense, but negate its effect. Synchro, add one Polymerization from your deck to your hand, and Exceed, take one Tuner from your deck with an equal or lower level than the Exceed monster's rank and add to your hand. So it works kind of in a circle base, being able to give you resources with Fusion, the Polymerization with Synchro, and the Tuner with Exceed, all working very, very well together to go those 3 summons out onto the field. Very, very fun deck. I can't wait to use it also in some of the other different decks, including obviously Odd Eyes and also Zark, because that helps for more and more setup to get out Zark onto the field. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra deck, I run one Performapal Gatling Ghoul, just the Performapal Fusion to go for the generic plays, needing a Performapal monster and a level 5 or higher Dark monster, which can be Odd Eyes, and then any other Performapal in the deck. One Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon. This is the play I like to go for with Daggerman and also the Odd Eyes in the deck. One Beast Eyes, being able to rely on the Beast monsters we run in the deck, and then the Odd Eyes monster. Just needing a tribute for this, you don't need a Polymerization. Also, it comes in handy. Also, the one Rune Eyes Pendulum Dragon, just needing the Pendulum Dragon, and one Spellcaster. Plenty of fusion options to go for with all these. Also, one Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. I get this more with Absolute Dragon when I can make it. And then the one Starving Venom with Dissolver. Definitely, this card becomes a big handy card to use. And then for the Exceed monsters, I run one Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon and one Dark Rebellion Dragon for the level 4 and 7 plays, which are the biggest Exceeds I do in the deck altogether. And then for the Synchros, I run one Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon with Odd Eyes Synchron and a level 5 monster. It's probably the easiest thing to summon out. If you want to run Clear Wing, you can try that instead. For this spot, completely up to the player at that point. And then for the Link monsters, the biggest hit was Electromite getting banned for the deck, so I had to make do with what we have for it otherwise. So I run one Underclock Taker, one Land Fornicus, one Zephyra Metaltron, one Triple Burst Dragon, one Borreload Dragon, and one Topologic Bomber Dragon. If you don't want to run Topologic Bomber Dragon, you can try taking it out, adding in some of the other Pendulum Mixies we have, like Enlightenment Paladin or Nirvana High Paladin, as another try, just for more additional Synchro summons if you wanted to add more to that slot in the extra deck. But that is it for the deck profile. Hope you all enjoy the video. Definitely hoping to work on some updates to Odd Eyes and also Zark in the upcoming videos, so definitely look forward to that with all the new support. But until then, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.